Big news! Seinfeld is back after quite a sabbatical. And boy, does the reboot look different.
A gummy bear. Ah ha ha ha.
That's hilarious. You know what they say? If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
The AI-generated never-ending Seinfeld episode is just one of many artificially rendered art pieces making the rounds today. And much like Donald Glover or Seth Rogen, there's no medium AI isn't ready to take on. Thinkers have long fretted about what's going to happen to the labor market when AI technology starts replacing administrative assistants, senior managers, and everyone in between. But with the advent of tools like Dall-E, Dall-E and Chat GPT, new questions keep cropping up. Will AI replace artists? Will AI art ever stop being, well, kind of bad? And could one boring piece of music technology, the MIDI synthesizer, provide the answers? Let's find out in this Wisecrack Edition. Will AI make good art? Now, at first blush, this question seems to demand a two-part answer. So first, of course, people will try to use AI to replace existing workers across the spectrum of arts and entertainment. If you need to publish an article to your news site, why would you pay a human to create a cover image or snap a photo for it when you can simply input an image prompt into a free AI portal? The results might be a bit weird, but hey, it's free. Also, for that matter, why'd you pay someone to write the article in the first place? You idiot, we don't do that anymore.
We hate humans, and we hate when they work, because then they get money which they can use to do things like, I don't know, eat food, pay rent, and live.
Similarly, if you're putting together a children's book, why pay an illustrator when you could get an AI tool to create art in the style of an already successful artist? Secondly, on the other hand, AI can't actually replace existing artists, right? Because the images are sometimes creepy and often weird and basically replications or mashups of pre-existing artistic styles. People can't be satisfied with crappy facsimiles of the familiar forever, right? After all, there's not only an innate human need to create art, there's an innate human need to appreciate it. AI art is indeed novel for the moment, but it's also, let's face it, pretty shitty. So, in summary, people are definitely going to use these tools to save money on artistic labor. And this is going to suck for people who make their living as graphic artists or illustrators or writers or composers or voice actors or YouTube hosts. Because many of us will be out of a job. Or we'll find ourselves earning half what we used to babysit machine learning programs and ensure they don't make anything too weird. Still, we suspect the demand for quality and original art will still exist. So the more complicated question becomes, can AI ever do that? As in, could AI art ever actually be genuinely novel and good? To answer that question, we first have to ask, why is AI art so bad? And what if that badness could actually be its saving grace? Today, AI image generation has all sorts of problems. Human faces are rendered with uncanny amounts of teeth. It's crazy how scary it is just to imagine a normal human mouth, but with more teeth. Human hands have too many fingers and feel really Slender-Man-y. Of course, mistakes don't inherently make for bad art. For example, 18th century English painter Alexander Cozens was quickly sketching a landscape image for a student when he realized that pre-existing marks on the page had contributed unconsciously to his rendering. He wrote, "The stains, though extremely faint, appeared upon revisal to have influenced me insensibly in expressing the general appearance of landscape." He continued to experiment with organic mistake-making in his work. When elements of chance or mistakes enter art, the artist is able to adjust their process. An accidental red splotch in a landscape can become an escaped balloon, completely altering the meaning of the work. In contrast, AI, simply fulfilling its programming, merely pulls and consolidates images to fulfill a prompt. It can't recognize its mistakes, much less use them to add new depth and meaning to its work. This is similar to an argument made in a recent New York Times op-ed co-authored by Noam Chomsky. It posited that while AI can reorganize existing elements, it can't actually do creative and speculative work. In other words, it can't ask why. Process aside though, AI's inability to accurately render reality doesn't necessarily make it bad. In fact, paradoxically, this seems like a reason why AI art could be good. Groundbreaking artists, especially in modern and contemporary times, typically see the world in a unique way, and their art expresses that vision, from Manet's Impressionism to Picasso's Cubism. This, in turn, allows the viewer to experience the world in a novel way. Importantly, when artists show us different ways of seeing the world, they aren't just trying to trip us out. They're disclosing something to us. Also, who are some artists that have made you see the world in a different way? I would love to know. Please share them in the comments. I bet other people would like that too. Would be fun to see. I'll share some of mine if you share some of yours. In Martin Heidegger's essay, The Origin of the Work of Art, he gives an example of a Van Gogh painting of peasant shoes. Heidegger argues that the artwork allows us to see what shoes are in truth. In the painting, we see the peasant woman's toil in the fields, the struggle to eat, the collective toll of such a life. We see the shoes as pieces of equipment, which makes a particular way of living, of being in the world, possible. Van Gogh doesn't do this through photorealism, but rather by using artistic techniques to accentuate the wear of the boots. Jacques Derrida, commenting on the essay, even noted that the boots appear to be two left shoes. In this way, an artistic representation of the world that isn't technically accurate ends up helping us understand the world in a much more realistic and truthful way. But beyond its ability to disclose, a piece of art as rendered by an artist has an inherent and specific value, as discussed by Walter Benjamin in 1935's The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. He argued that in his era of mass production, when technology could all of a sudden instantly and accurately reproduce a piece of artwork and send its image all over the world, the value of art was put into jeopardy. Also note, he's worried about this in 1935, right? I think if he saw technology now, he would freak out. He would freak the out. He'd say, "I'm freaking out, guys. I'm freaking out. Who put something in my drink?" And I'd be like, "Not me." And he'd be like, "Oh, I'm freaking out." He was crazy like that. That's because unless you're looking at the original depiction, the art's image loses its aura. That is, its aesthetic authority. An artwork's aura comes from its authenticity, or its singular uniqueness, as well as its physical and cultural locale. Benjamin explains that even the most perfect reproduction of a work of art is lacking in one element: its presence in time and space, its unique existence at the place where it happens to be. It's why you can get a super accurate print of the Mona Lisa in your house that might look good, but no one will be lining up for hours to look at it. So according to these thinkers, for something to truly be art, a work requires disclosure of a worldview, authenticity, and a presence in time and space. Could machines do anything like this? Well, imagine that machines actually are intelligent, as the origin of the phrase AI promises. Trained on a data set of, say, human faces, perhaps the algorithmic image generator discloses to us how machines really see us, that they view us as assemblages of who knows how many teeth, eyes, fingers, and so on, a sum of our weird little parts, or weird normal size parts. You know, it's average. Alternatively, they hold a mirror up to how society as a whole sees us, especially in regards to its prejudices. AI notoriously fails to recognize Black or Asian faces with the same degree of accuracy as white faces. Although in my case, an AI app once said that my celebrity doppelganger was DJ Khaled. Another one. So if we imagine the machine in the place of the artist, then maybe, just maybe, it is disclosing something to us with its art. But there are a few problems with this. First, AI art only seems to disclose something beyond the obvious when they make mistakes. The extra teeth and creepy fingers are viewed as problems that most algorithm creators likely want to iron out, not creative flourishes or artistic choices. They also, as previously discussed, can't be incorporated into the art to add new meaning. Secondly, the art is not made as such by any human agent. There isn't anything being shown about the world because there isn't actually anyone who is showing us anything here. The machine is just a program, trained on a dataset, pulling from the world's existing words and images. It isn't choosing images based on aesthetic judgment. It's merely making connections based on similarity of search terms. You could hardly call that providing a perspective on the world. For example, when algorithms reproduce racist ideologies, they're not being racist. They're merely replicating the explicit or implicit biases of their engineers or of the society whose dataset they were trained on. Those biases are then accidentally encoded into the machine, which brings us to point 3, intentionality. As art history scholar Terry Deduve writes, before they are anything else, all pictures are declarations of the intention to make a picture. But it's hard to ascribe intentionality to AI. While theorists argue about the extent to which we should employ the notion of the artist's intentions when interpreting a work of art, the existence of that intention is intrinsic to considering it art in the first place. And this intentionality is inherently human. As Siri Husfeld explains, the act of picture making is only possible because we have the faculty of reflective self-consciousness. That is, we are able to represent ourselves to ourselves and muse about our own beings by becoming objects in our own eyes. A monkey may be able to smear paint on a canvas, and famously has, but it's not reflecting on their own existence in the process. But these problems, rather than opening and shutting the case on AI's artistic promise, can actually guide us into an idea of how AI could maybe be good at it, even if some folks, like musician Nick Cave, hate it. As he said in The Guardian, reacting to an AI pastiche of his lyrics, "This song sucks." When AI art seems to meet the success conditions of its enthusiast, it is often boring and generic. It is in the style of something that might be good, the way a Panera roll is in the style of bread. That is to say, really jaw-dropping, revolutionary art doesn't look or sound or feel the way it's supposed to. Often it's the exact opposite. Just ask like Iggy Pop or something. In contrast, machine-generated art looks like an approximation of how it's supposed to. There's something inherently safe and conservative about it. But as we previously said, AI art maybe can be good when it's weird. Hence, the great joy of the weird Dall-E mini creations accounts. This stuff might not be great art, but it's genuinely fun to watch an algorithm produce things like an image of a gaming urinal, or George Costanza with an AK-47. Let us know what the best Dall-E art you've came up with is. Like, let us know the little search terms and we'll try to recreate it. I wish you could post images in the comments. That'd be fun. Well, it'd be fun for a second, but then some of you would post really dark and then it'd feel bad. I bet that's why YouTube made a decision to not let you do that. Its inability to create a totally photorealistic image of the prompt, that is, to do its job as ostensibly designed, is often precisely what makes it so fun. What's more, in its failure, it actually manifests a unique aesthetic. Here, we might be able to take a clue from another creative innovation, one that, at first glance, seemed to badly replicate something more organic and human: MIDI keyboards. First released in 1983, MIDI keyboards replicate the sounds of orchestral instruments, as well as more complicated and expensive synths. Now, in the wrong hands, these instruments, like AI art, feel like an approximation of the real thing, but crappier. But when wielded right, MIDIs can be used to secure a particular kind of sound, as demonstrated in things like the Final Fantasy soundtrack, or the music of Devo. They can be used to produce a sound that evokes a familiar sort of over-the-top orchestration. This association has been mined to great effect by musicians like Canadian singer-songwriter Destroyer on his 2004 album Your Blues, which uses a lot of MIDI, in a way that often evokes the melodrama of Japanese RPGs. The lesson here being, once you stop trying to use these sorts of technologies to accurately replicate something they never could, and instead embrace their particular advantages, limitations, and evocations, you can use them to make unique and groundbreaking art. So the weirdness of AI-generated art is potentially interesting, so long as this weirdness is preserved and even encouraged, and crucially, so long as an actual human being is still involved. Plenty of real artists already use AI tools in their practice, with the best results usually veering into the realm of surrealism. While these artists aren't putting brush to canvas, there's arguably still skill required in prompting and curating an algorithm, just as there is in training an algorithm on a particular data set to produce particular results. Here, the best analogy is probably not MIDI, but a more sophisticated synth you have to figure out yourself. The options go further, with fashion designers already using AI to generate images that they then combine into collages, ascribing intentionality to the final product. Crucially here, there is a human agent who really could be trying to tell us something true about the world rather than just mechanically spitting out an output given a certain input. And this, ultimately, is how AI can be used to make good art in the future, as a particular tool that can achieve particular effects, but only with the right sort of human intervention, agency, and intention. Also, the weirder, the better. But what do you guys think? Will AI put your favorite artist out of a job, or will it just become one more possibility for innovation in a contemporary artist toolbox? And are there already artists that are doing this well? Let us know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. A huge shout out to our patrons. Thank you for your support. If you feel like extra content, including videos of me talking about philosophy, or our podcast called, and this is real, Behind the Crack, where we dig into our videos and what goes into making them, check it out. There's a link in the description. But thanks to all of you for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, feeding the mechanisms of the algorithm. It means a lot to us and it helps us stay afloat. So thank you so much. In the meantime, keep it weird, and I'll see you later.